Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to E-Factor with Brenda Pierce. Our fresh approaches will expand and elevate humanity. Now join me with today's very, very special guest. Now let's get on with the show.
Welcome everyone to another edition of E-Factor Radio, here with myself, Brenda Pierce, as your guide. E-Factor is all about empowering life, electrifying life, and evolving you into brand new thoughts and life processes that will expand and elevate consciousness. Our special guest today is Mr. Jim Phillips. Jim is a wonderful representation of evolving into the fullness of his own life, and we're going to get into a very lively discussion with him as we talk about his amazing book, The Key to Life, and what that's all about. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hi, Brenda. How are you?
I am wonderful, and how are things with you today?
I am doing extremely well. Excited to be on the show and to share some information with your listeners.
It's always wonderful to have enlightened people who have who speak from the heart and from their life experiences and see where they started from and where they are today and the path along the journey. So I wondered if you could start us today by introducing us to Jim Phillips, and why is it that you have written this amazing book called The Key to Life?
It's always interesting for me when I'm asked that question to talk about me, because I know sometimes people expect there to be this story behind it all, some story of either difficulty or hardship or some really amazing thing that's taken place. And quite honestly, my life, at least to me, in comparison to other lives for people that I've spoken to, it's been basically a normal life. I've had my share of successes and certainly my share of difficult times, but there's been nothing in my life that's been tragic that I've said that, I've hit rock bottom and all of a sudden I have to pull myself up. It's just been this constant desire to get as much out of life as I possibly could, and at the same time recognizing that there was always something more to life than what I was experiencing. And then as I started to get into this kind of work, that was a question that was constantly raised by other people. And it was always around, why can't I get more out of life than I'm getting out of life? Or I thought I was going to be further along in my life than I am at this particular point in time. And so my whole journey has been about that. It's just been about looking at life from a lot of different perspectives, really trying to understand what it is I believe and why I believe what I believe. And along that path, I discovered a lot of what I believed wasn't true, and that I had basically accepted things that other people had said or other people had done, or just in viewing them and actions they might be taken. And it was really when I started looking at myself and questioning my beliefs that I realized that there was much more to life, and it wasn't this limited thinking that I had based on my perception at that particular point in time. So all of this information, all of these interactions I've had with other people, all the experiences I've had in my life have really resulted in the writing to The Key to Life, Living in Full Expression. And really what that's about, it's living fully and completely as who you are, and let me be more precise, as who you know yourself to be in that moment, because our purpose here on earth is expansion. So we're constantly expanding our knowledge and understanding and experience of ourselves. So as long as we can live in full experience of who we know ourselves to be in that moment, then that's what we're here to do, and that's what life's all about.
And that's so fascinating that you realize that you don't have to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough, that it is really a realization or a reflection of where we are in this moment of time and our perception. And what you do with your book is you actually shed the light on the perception and how to look at things from a different perspective. And that is really, in itself, is a huge and refreshing approach.
One thing that I really want people to get out of the book is that it's not about me, it's not about what I believe, it's about what they believe and why they believe it. And my intention with the book was, as you just said, Brenda, to give them perspectives perhaps on life and different life experiences or situations that maybe they hadn't considered, But it's really about them looking at themselves and questioning where they are, how they want to experience life, looking at how maybe perhaps they haven't had the experiences of life that they really want to, and coming to their own terms with it. But also recognizing, and this is one of the quotes that's in the book that to me was a very profound one that was given to me during one of my quiet moments, and that was, today what I know to be true, tomorrow might not be. And I've held that really as a mantra. And it doesn't allow me to get too full of myself thinking that I know everything, because I know that really what I know is true today, quite literally, it might not be true tomorrow because of something you might say to me or something somebody else might say to me or an experience that I might have. So I'm constantly looking for that opportunity to expand my experience of life and of myself.
Right. And that's so true. And therefore, you talk about the principle of non-attachment. So whatever we believe now, don't blame ourselves if it doesn't hold true tomorrow. Just don't attach to the outcome of the perception. And that opens up the doorway to more flow and opportunity, doesn't it?
It does. And we all have challenging situations that happen in our lives. And we make silly decisions and maybe make major mistakes, or things we would call major mistakes. And we blame ourselves and we beat ourselves up, and we then have more limiting beliefs about ourselves and what we believe we're capable of doing. And one of the perspectives I would really like to have the readers of the book, but also the listeners on this show, come away with is that everything that happens in life is nothing more than an experience. It's that. It's just an experience, and that's what we're here for. We're here to experience life in as many different ways as we possibly can, and as fully and completely as we can. So if I did something in my teenage years that, looking upon it, I could say, well, that was stupid for me to do, well, I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm going to say, okay, well, that was my experience at that time based on what I knew and what I understood and where I was. Mm-hmm. And now here I am making totally different decisions, hopefully, and having completely different life experiences, but also recognizing that the choices I make now are making consciously, whereas before I might have been living by default, because I wasn't really as aware of the correlation between my thoughts and my life experiences back then as I am now.
Right. Well, that's a really profound truth, and I know that if we carry around the attachment to the past and our ignorance, whether it be by default or by conscious choice, can really be like heavy baggage going into the future and can hold us back from experiencing life to its fullest expression. So I totally resonate with that, and I feel that is, what the evolution is all about, is losing that baggage and moving forward with a sense of ease and grace, no blame, no judgment, no regrets, and living it in a fullest expression possible. I like where you say here in the book, one of the quotes is, the more we enrich our own lives, the more we enrich the lives of others, and the more we enrich the lives of others, the more we enrich our own life. So the importance is not only being in a parallel existence and not having attachment, but really looking forward to providing service to others. Would you say that would be a key ingredient as well?
I would. I think that being in service to others is extremely important. However, I make a distinction in the book, and this is one of the areas where I've been questioned on the book, and that is the one section that says that I don't believe that we're here to I just lost what I was going to say, the quote. We're not here for our fellow man, essentially. It's not my responsibility to take care of fellow man. And people will first bristle when they hear that, thinking, well, that goes against everything that I've learned, especially in religion and that sort of thing. Well, my point behind that is that there is no obligation for us to serve one another. But if we're living in full expression and we're living from our heart, that's something we truly desire to do, and we're doing it out of that sense of love and out of that sense of connection, as opposed to somebody saying that we are here to benefit our fellow man and that's what you have to do. Well, then people are doing it based on some kind of reward they feel they might get down the line, or it's going to make them a better person. But when we do it out of our heart and out of our love for one another, then that's where we not only benefit ourselves tremendously because of the feeling and the sense of who we know ourselves to be. And that's one of the greatest experiences and expressions of ourselves we can have, is when we're giving of ourselves to another person out of the love for that person and ourselves, because I think there's that, again, that connection between the two.
I can see that, because working as a registered nurse in healthcare, everybody is coming from a heartfelt place, supposedly, but there is, in a job position, you're doing it out of the reward of being paid and recognition and, oh, didn't I do a good job doing this today? Whereas where you're saying coming from service, from the heart and from love, truly has its own merits and own rewards that are of a different level and a different caliber. There are no boundaries and no limits to what you can do when you come from that place, whereas when you're coming from a place of service that has a linear, constricted, shall we say, a bow around it kind of thing, then there is other more heavy, weighty kind of things that hold it down from the truest expression of what it can be.
Mm-hmm. And that really gets back to non-attachment too, Brenda, where if we're doing things to benefit other people based on what we think we're going to get back in return, we're attached to that. And there's no truth in what we're doing to benefit the other person. Now, it may benefit them. I'm not trying to say that there isn't going to be some benefit to the person who we are offering the service to, but it's not the same kind of heartfelt benefit that if we are operating from our true essence that we're going to experience. And certainly it's not going to be as heartfelt to them that they're going to experience, even though there might be some benefit. Mm-hmm. And here's the interesting thing about that, and that is that when we operate from our heart with no expectation of anything in return, we get way more in return than we ever dreamt of.
And I think that's a hard concept for people to really think, that in this materialistic day and age, that there can be something put out without equal energy behind it, when in this purpose, where you expand your heart consciousness to be overreaching, that the rewards can come back to you in such magnitude, people think that is, kind of a fairy tale, so to speak, and yet many people live in that perspective and experience it on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I want to share with people who may be feeling in a place of being stuck right now, is that moving into this expanded consciousness can really have different and really life-changing benefits to it.
Yes, I was waiting for you to ask. I wasn't sure if you were going to ask a question around that, or do you want me just to expand upon that? Okay. When we live in full expression, what that means is that we are living from our true essence. We're dropping the facade. We're dropping who we think are. We're dropping who we think we are. We're dropping who other people think we are. We're operating from that true essence. And as far as I'm concerned, that true essence it's an expression of the divine. So we basically are the divine in human clothing. So when we drop that human clothing and we're operating from that divine, that's the absolute. And the greatest gift that I can give anybody is when I am living in full expression of myself. Because not only am I going to benefit them by what I might do directly to benefit them, but I'm also serving as an example to them of who they are. And that gives them the opportunity to experience and express themselves from that same perspective, if they choose to. And that's what free will's about. And that's why we have so many people not living from the heart, or not allowing that heart expansion to take place. But once it does, it's amazing how it continues to expand. It's not like it just expands a little bit and that's it. That's all you get. The more you operate from that place, the more expansive it becomes, and the more beautiful life becomes, and the more beautiful everything becomes, because then we start looking at things from that sense of its beauty, as opposed to looking at things where we might have some sense of fear, or some sense of constriction, or limit, or scarcity.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's wonderful to hear this opportunity of expansion and living in our fullest purpose. One of the things is I'm wondering if you could share maybe some of the tools to help us make that transition of moving into that consciousness. The greatest tool I think that we have is awareness. Mm-hmm.
And it really is a matter of living in the present moment. And I know that's a term that's thrown around a lot, and it's a difficult thing for a lot of people to do because of all the distractions that we have. But it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to really be in the moment and take notice of what's happening around you. And then with that, more importantly, it's about what's happening within you. Because if we can get to the point where we are living from our feeling, then we're going to realize truly how powerful we are. So to me, the whole idea of awareness and just paying attention, because if you're aware, you're also living in the present moment. You can't, there's going to be a double negative. You can't not be in the present moment when you're aware of what's going on.
Right.
And that's when we also become aware of the fact that there are opportunities around us that are always there that because we're not paying attention, we don't get to take advantage of, and yet they're there. It's all the things that we desire to have out of life are always around us, and yet we allow ourselves to be distracted by these other things that are happening in our lives. As you mentioned, we get hung up on what happened in the past. We blame ourselves, or we blame other people, or we start worrying about the future because something might have happened in the past that we think is going to affect our future, instead of that awareness that if I make choices right now, that same thing is not going to happen in the future. It's not, because I'm taking control of it right now. And so to me, that's one of the greatest tools, practice awareness. Just practice what's going on around you and what's going on within you. And definitely notice the correlation between your thoughts and the actions and the activities that are going on around you.
Yeah, so being a real student of life and opening our eyes and ears and not, keeping earbuds in our ears and missing the sound of bird song or, the cry of a child or just really focusing. I think technology today has really created a huge distraction in our awareness because we are caught up in replays and recorded shows, fast food, fast cars. We miss a lot. How have you been able to tune things down to a level that you are more perceptive of the present moment?
I start each day with a long walk outside, and I do it very early. It's usually between 5:30 and 6 o'clock in the morning. At this time of year, it's still dark out. I don't have music. I don't have anything other than me walking out there in nature. And I reference that time as being immersed in the silence of the dawn. And for me, it's that moment of total connection. It's when I receive a lot of my information, quite frankly, and ideas and thoughts that I expand on. A lot of it is in the book. But that's how I begin the day. It's with that connection. I do more or less a walking meditation. I am in prayer at the same time, but it's not like prayer that people might think of if you're going to church. It's just that connection, knowing that I am communicating with the divine, and I communicate back and forth. I ask questions. I get answers. And then as I go through the day, it's an awareness of how what I started with in the morning is starting to unfold. And I'll see how I have set the tone for the day. And there'll be times during the day when it gets hectic. And I will take a few minutes, and I will sit at my desk, and I'll close my eyes, and I'll breathe, and I'll get calm, and I'll get centered, and put myself back in that place of being aware and really being more in the moment. And then I also look at, and this is another practice, and this is another tool that I think might benefit people, and it's just recognizing that everything that happens in life, everything that happens, is an opportunity for us to experience ourselves in a different way. And everything is for our benefit. There's nothing that is being put in front of us to hold us back or to keep us from being fully and completely who we are. It's just the opposite. Everything is there for us to expand our experience and expression of self. The difficult ones give us a greater opportunity. And what I have found is that when I am entering into a difficult situation, when I consciously go into it knowing that there's a benefit in it, well, I'm aware of looking for that benefit, but I'm not totally focused on that because I'm working through whatever the situation is. But knowing that I have that awareness, solutions come up much more quickly. I move through the experience much more quickly. And when I'm on the other side of it, I'm also extremely grateful for having gone through the experience because now I know how much more powerful I am. I know that I can move through those situations. And I know I'm better prepared for the next one that's going to come along, which will come along.
Right, right. And I think that that's key, too, is having a sense of gratitude. No matter what the situation's in, it does almost put like a cloak around you, knowing that you are safe even in the midst of a storm, and knowing that you are connected with the divine and just a piece of the tapestry of life. And it really does help to come from that sense. I see here, too, in your book, and I wonder if you could expand a little bit what the role of imagination is in also helping to create this fullness of life.
Imagination is in my opinion, truly one of the greatest gifts that we have. And that is where everything that we experience in life first develops. That's where, if we allow ourselves to think freely without attachment to anything, to think about all of the experience we want to have in life, all of the joy, the happiness, the peace, the love, the success, all of the things that we want to have. If we can give ourselves that opportunity to imagine them, and when I talk to my coaching clients and we talk about the imagination or we talk about visioning, what I ask them to do is envision themselves in a particular situation, a situation they want to have as an experience. And it can be something they would like to acquire, it can be a job, it can be a relationship, it can be whatever it is, it doesn't really matter. But I ask them to envision it. And what I find is that most people, when they go through that process, they see themselves in the vision or in the movie that they're creating. They see themselves in it. And I ask them to describe it, and they will. And I'll say, okay, well, tell me what you see. And they say, well, I see myself doing this, this, and this. I say, okay, I want you to change that. And I want you to be in the movie, but I want you to see everything else from your eyes so that you're not looking at the movie and seeing yourself as an actor in it. You're in the movie, and you're looking out of your eyes, and you're seeing all those things that are happening. And that's where we can more fully connect with that creative source that allows those things we truly want to have as our life experiences to take hold. It's becoming fully immersed in the creative process. And it's about feeling, and all your senses become engaged when you're in the midst of that. But it's extremely important to be in it fully and completely, as much as you possibly can, so that you're looking out of your eyes at everything that's taken place. And so to me, the imagination is that tool that we have that allows us to create whatever it is we want to create in our lives, whatever it is. And a lot of people will say, well, you know, I've been told that I created some of the difficulties I've had. And, well, that's the imagination too, because we allow ourselves to get caught up in a negative thought pattern or a fearful thought pattern, maybe that's a better way to say it, and our imagination creates it. And you know, to me, those are great examples of how powerful we are as well, that we allow our thoughts to go in a certain direction. All of a sudden we're having those experiences, and yet we're surprised they show up. We just need to be more conscious of our thoughts, really, and as much as we can, don't think out of fear, think out of love, think out of joy and happiness, and those are the experiences we're going to have on a more regular basis. It doesn't eliminate challenge and difficulty, but it just means we'll have more of those joyful experiences.
Right. I like the fact that everything that you've shared so far has no dollar value on it. It is all free and willing and available for us 24/7. I think that in this day and age where everything has a monetary cost to it, like, you know, if you want to have a great life, go to Orlando and visit Disney World. Here, you know, you can get your tickets here for like $2,000 or something like that. This is something that is expansive beyond, a great gift from the universe, and such a joyful thing that once you embrace this sort of thinking and mindset can create all that you desire. And I really love the fact that you were able to bring all these tips and you know, share and expand upon these benefits for us in this book.
Well, you know, when you just mentioned like Orlando or any other vacation place, and yes, those are great places, and yes, we can go there and have a wonderful time, but I think we've talked ourselves into the belief that we can't have fun unless we go on a vacation somewhere. Instead of recognizing that all you have to do is walk out your front door, get out of your bed, or take a walk in the woods, and if you allow yourself to be immersed in that experience, it's going to be as fun, if not more fun, than going down to Orlando and being with a million other tourists. It's a mindset. It's really about accepting and appreciating the beauty that is around us all the time, that we just become oblivious to, because we become too caught up in the day-to-day activities of life. And they're important. I'm not saying we don't have responsibilities. We certainly do, because that's what this lifetime is about. But yet at the same time, there is ample time and ample opportunity for us to step away from it and to really connect and to really live as who we truly are, and get away from the idea that my self-worth is dependent upon the size of house I live in, the type of car I have, the schools my kids go to, the clothes I wear, the jewelry I might wear. That has absolutely nothing to do with who I am and my value. But yet society has more or less placed that out there, and too many of us are attached to that that's my identity. And, of course, what happens when we go through a recession like we just went through? People lose their identity because they no longer have the cars, the houses. They can't take their kids to the schools. They're not wearing the clothes, the jewelry, because they had to take their jewelry to the pawn shop to be able to pay their monthly bills. And so we lose our total identity. So we have to make sure that our identity is our true essence and not this other stuff.
I think that is, you're right on there, because when the trappings of life are gone or the job is gone, even I hear people in retirement go, I've got 3 more years until I retire, and then I can really start to live. What a waste of time. So that takes me into the question here, the role of benefactor or victim. I'd love for you to expand upon that a little bit more and share with us how important it is for us to decide, are we going to be a benefactor of life or are we going to be a victim of life?
That, for me, that whole idea comes from the fact that I believe that life offers everything that any of us need. Otherwise, none of us would be here. If there wasn't everything for us completely and fully available, then we wouldn't be here. And our purpose for being here is to experience all of that. Now, we deny ourselves that by looking at the difficulties and the challenges and the hardship that we all encounter. Because, again, this is about expansion, and it's about expansion of our experience of ourselves. It's about becoming more empowered because we had the experience of overcoming some difficulty, because we become more of who we truly are. And if we can get caught up in that, though, and feel that life is against me and that I'm a victim, and after you go through a difficult situation, the person who looks at life or looks at life from a victimhood position, they're always waiting for the next bad thing to happen or the next difficult thing to happen. And when that is your expectation, that's going to be what you're given. You're going to be given another difficult time because that's what you're basically asking for. Right. If you start to turn that around and look at life as, well, these things that are happening to me are giving me an opportunity really to become better and to have a grander experience of myself, to have a grander experience of life. And as I start to realize that these things that are happening, these events, are for my benefit, then I become a benefactor of life, and life will start giving me all kinds of wonderful things that are not just challenging and difficult, because now I'm inviting it in. I'm appreciating what life is offering me. I'm appreciating the goodness of life. And the more that I can express, and we're getting back to gratitude for all those things, I'm going to be given more of that because that's what the universe is compelled to do.
Right. Yeah, it's amazing. It's like the greatest magical act there is on the earth is our own power of our mind. And, so many wonderful people have written about it through the centuries and decades. I'm just referencing right now on page 117, there is a poem there that is called I Am. Did you write that?
I did.
Oh, wonderful. I wonder if you could read it to us, because I think it is a wonderful piece that is so worthy of you sharing with the audience.
Sure. As you said, it's entitled I Am. I am the journey. I am the traveler. I am the vehicle. I am the destination. I am the journey, for it is my relationship with self that is reflected to me as my life experiences. As I am toward self, life is toward me. I am the traveler as I am the experience and expression of the divine. It is along my life's path that I am in full experience and expression of who I am. I am the vehicle. It is through me the divine is experienced and expressed. As I am in full expression and experience, the divine is in full expression and experience. I am the destination, for the destination is a return to self. I am that I am.
Wow. Very powerful. Very, very powerful. I thank you for writing that and for reading that to us today.
Yeah, the page before that gave the explanation of how that came to be, and it was really kind of weird because I was on an airplane and there was an article about the airline, and it was just talking about how we as the passengers were the journey, and we were the journey for them. And I just started playing with that a little bit, and all of a sudden this whole verse came in, and I wrote it down, and yeah, I was pretty amazed after I saw it.
Right. It is. It's a very profound piece of writing. It's amazing how when, a situation can spark such creativity that has such relativity to the life experience in something as simple as traveling and journeying through from one destination to another, as we are from one destination to other, from beginning to end of life.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love the fact that you talk about the power of belief, and this whole conversation so far has been about the power of belief and knowing the power of who we are in this moment of now in creation. But some people get caught up in the dogma of belief being a religious practice versus belief being something greater and beyond the limitations of any boxes that we put ourselves into. I wonder if you could expand upon belief a little bit.
Well, when I talk about belief, I do it in the context of anything but religion. It's not about that. And that's not a slam against religion, because I think organized religion has and continues to do tremendous things for a great number of people. But when I speak of belief, it really is my belief. And when I say my belief, it is what I believe, what I truly believe, what I am basing my decisions of life on, what I'm basing my decisions of anything that I desire to do or experience, what I'm basing that on. And when I was talking earlier, that was the experience I had. I started looking at these beliefs that I held, and really beliefs about myself. We all have things that have been said to us about us by family members, by parents, by coworkers, by bosses, and they're going to say, you're no good at this, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. And those are beliefs that I'm talking about as well, those beliefs that we grab hold of that are not true. But yet we've grabbed hold of them because it's been repeated to us so many times. And then the greatest number of repetitions where we hear that is in our own head, where we accept what somebody has said about us, and then we keep repeating it, so it becomes a mantra of, I'm clumsy, or I can't do this, or I can't do that, and eventually we can't. We become clumsy, or we can't do this, or we can't do that. But when we recognize it's nothing more than a belief we hold where there is no basis for truth, and it's the awareness of it actually that allows us to transcend it. And that's what I experienced. I would look at these beliefs that I held about myself, and as I had an experience, when there was something I wanted to do, and one of these beliefs would show up. Essentially what I say now is, okay, there you are again. I see that. Thank you for showing up. You're not going to get me to change my desire of this experience I want to have, or moving forward, or becoming more empowered. You're actually going to serve as a catalyst now. You're showing me that I'm more than what you're telling me that I am, and you're just reminding me that was nothing more than a belief that I held on to. There is no merit there. And that's really, to me, the essence of empowerment, when we recognize that I am the only one who truly can take charge of my life, or who truly is in charge of my life. And any beliefs that I hold, I hold them up and I examine them. I don't doubt myself, but I question things. And the questioning is the expansion process, because if you don't question it, you don't move beyond it. You just accept something.
Right.
You know, and another example, this is an easy one because everybody knows this, the world was flat for I don't know how many years. Everybody believed it was flat. Then it was proved that it wasn't. But yet it was a widely held belief, and now it's not. And we're finding stuff in science all the time. We're finding stuff in medicine all the time that has been held as the absolute truth. And it's not. And so that's why, again, that statement I said earlier, where today what I know to be true, tomorrow might not be, that's a mantra. I only hold a belief for as long as it serves me and as long as I can identify with it as being my truth for that moment. Right. And then it goes away, and then I have a new belief that's stronger and more empowering and helps me become more of who I am or experience more of who I am. I don't know that it actually gets to the definition of belief you were looking for, but...
No, I love that, because the thing is, though, we see it all around us where beliefs are held long past the point of effectiveness. We see it in the wars that are happening around the world. You can see it in where families have dissensions that happen, and where somebody holds a belief for so long that it becomes so painful that nobody knows where the belief came from or who it belongs to anymore. It just is, and it takes on a life of its own. And that's why I like you expanding upon your belief of beliefs, because it's important. Because I see here in page 77, you say, our life experiences become that to which we consent and accept as true. And I think sometimes we consent by default and don't realize that we've consented or given our power away to something that no longer serves us. Would you say that might be a truth?
Absolutely, because it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's much easier for me to let the other 7 billion people in the world think, and then for me to think. And if all these people think it's true, well, then it must be true. And that's just the opposite. We've become so attached to groupthink or societal think or cultural think or whatever we want to throw out there, that it's not until the individual steps back and questions it. And they may question it, it may end up being true. I'm not saying that these things are not true, but I'm just saying question it. Really find out for yourself. And if it's not serving you, then you need to figure out what does serve you. Now, this really gets to the heart of living in full expression, too. When I say that you step away from what everybody else holds as true to do something that you would hold as true, I'm not talking about doing something that would be so totally contrary and would hurt other people. I'm talking about living from your heart. So that when you're stepping back and you're looking at these things and you're questioning what's true and what's not true, you're doing it from the heart, and you're always going to find more of the truth from that, and it's not going to hurt other people. It's going to be about you having an enlightened sense of yourself and also of life.
Well, what I have found, because obviously over the last few years after coming through a devastating divorce and life-altering illness for my husband and various life experiences that had come forward, I just really found that when you start to settle down and come from a place of true-hearted love and belief that there is another possibility, then that actually radiates around to the people around you, and they start to exhibit that same kind of behavior. It's almost like this ripple effect that happens where you didn't even have to do anything different except change your thought processes, and the world around you starts to act and look differently and behave differently, and you can see then the effects mirroring out from it. And it can be just my own perception, or it could be, that this perception gets picked up by others subliminally. That is a wonderful place to come from. It's been my experience. And I wonder for yourself, Jim, from writing the book, really examining life and how to live in fullest expression, have you seen effects like that happen and ripple out around you for just you being you? Yeah. And this may sound strange, and maybe I just wasn't aware of it before. I find people staring at me all the time. And it's just thing. Weird. I'll walk into a grocery store. I'll be in a restaurant. I'll walk into a restaurant, and I can look around, and there's just all these eyes on me. And I don't know if it's my energy. Well, I do know that. It is my energy. It is my light. It's all these things that I try to be. And
people may look at me, and I look at other people that way too, so I'm not saying this is just me. And then when I see somebody else that I feel really radiates that same kind of energy, then there's definitely a connection there, and I'm drawn towards that person. So I'm just saying, speaking about myself in this example, that yes, I do. I find people that they act differently towards me, and some get offended. Some will act as if I'm better than them, when that's the last thing that I'm trying to project. I'm basically trying to show them, no, we're all the same, and this is what you're capable of doing as well. And Brenda, when you were saying a few minutes ago about your experience with your husband and the illness and those sorts of things, when we are operating from our heart and we're living in full expression, by our acting from that place, we're giving people permission to be the same way. It's an act of permission. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's what it is. They're all of a sudden saying, oh, that's okay to be that way, or that's okay to have that life experience, or that's okay to treat people kindly and whatever. We're giving people permission to do those things that they innately want to do anyway. But because society doesn't necessarily reflect that all the time, they don't do it, or we don't do it.
Right. Well, and this is it, because everybody is on their own life journey. There's nothing saying that life journeys co-joined are going to diverge in other ways, no matter how much love we put into it or how much we honor them. We have to honor their own journey and allow them that space, that's for sure. We all write our stories. I think, though, when you were talking about how when you walk into an area and you feel eyes on you or sense or see people, staring at you, you talk about stepping into our own magnificence, and it's not a boastful thing. It's like you're saying there, the fullness of our possibility and potential. People recognize that, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do. And again, as I said a minute ago, there are going to be those people who look at that and they're going to be fearful of it. Mm-hmm. They're whether they feel they're going to be left behind, or whether they feel like they're inadequate, which may be a big part of it, or from an ego perspective, they're going to think, well, who does he think he is? Mm-hmm. And yet we all have that same potential that's waiting for us to step into. And our magnificence really is just an expanded version of our current life experience. And again, that continues to expand. I use the word magnificent because for most people, it elicits this incredible vision, and to me, it's like an explosion of light, and everything is expanding from within outward. So it's this you just say this magnificent, or if you've ever been to the Grand Canyon before, or other places that elicit that kind of feeling, that truly to me is magnificence, and it's beyond words. It's really beyond feeling, because you can't describe how you feel, because everybody is going to have their own sense of how that feels. But it's that expression of yourself that really is beyond description. And to me, that's our magnificence. That's who we are, and that's what we're here to expand and experience and express and share with one another and demonstrate.
It's a sense of dreams come true, isn't it? I'm sitting here right now, and I'm feeling a vibration of great, immense expansion as you were talking about the magnificence of life potential. And I wonder, Jim, do you have a meditative process that can help people to go into this sense of expansion and feel their magnificence?
No, I don't. and the reason that I say that is I've talked to a lot of people about meditating and different ways of meditating. And what I find is that people have this preconceived notion of what it's supposed to look like and feel like. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell somebody how it's going to feel. I can't tell them what it's going to look like. I know when I close my eyes and I get quiet and I pay attention to my breath, that I still have all these thoughts that come through. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to stop that. I know if I try to stop it, I get tense and I get stressed out, because I'm not allowing myself just to be quiet and allow those things to come through. Mm-hmm. I think that there's so many different things that people that are experts, if you will, on meditation will say. It all gets down to the same thing. It's just about being still It's about not attaching to any of the thoughts that are coming through your head. It's not about expanding on them. It's about allowing your mind, if your mind follows a thought, it's about recognizing that and then pulling yourself back. It's that awareness. And I think sometimes people feel that when you're in a meditation that you're kind of zoned out. You're not. You're actually more tuned in than you are when you're engaged in the day-to-day activity of the world. So you still hear the sounds. You still hear everything that's going on. You still have the thoughts that come in. But you are quiet and you don't allow those distractions to take you out of that centeredness, that sense of peace and calm that you have. And it is a practice. It's something that we need to do on a regular basis. It's not something you do one day and then come back to it a week later and say, well, I meditate. It's an ongoing practice, and as you allow yourself that quiet time, and I think that's one of the biggest challenges for most people is just taking the 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to do it without this sense of urgency where they do it before they run off to work, and in their mind while they're trying to meditate is, okay, I've got to hurry up because I've got to get in the car and I've got to drive to the office because I've got a meeting. It's got to be done at a time where you have time after the meditation to stay in that calm place. It can't be something that's rushed. Right. And my primary meditation's in the morning when I'm walking. It really is that total connection. So I'm completely wide awake. My eyes are open. I'm walking around. I'm listening to the birds, but I'm also paying attention to the information I'm getting, and I'm paying attention to the calmness.
Yes, and I think that is a very practical way of meditating, is doing a walking meditation. I know my daughter was at a job where she had to do a repetitive action over and over and over again, and had been in a rather frustrated place in her life where she didn't know where she wanted to go, being that she's out of high school, decided to take a year off and try to find herself, so to speak. And it was in finding herself, was in doing the repetitive motion of the job. She allowed her mind to go to another place to receive the answers that she was seeking, even though she was in a heavy, stressful job situation. So it is possible that you can do this kind of wakeful meditation anytime, as long as you allow yourself that time. And it's amazing how you can continue the pace of whatever you're doing and still be allowed to have this place of greater connection and greater receptivity, no matter where you are, what you're doing. So thank you for letting us know that there's no simple panacea. Everybody has to find it themselves and how they're going to open up to the divine.
Right. And this is also where belief comes in. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but this is where belief comes in. Because if we don't believe that meditation will benefit us, it won't. If we don't believe that being quiet and having that moment of connection is going to benefit us, it won't. We have to believe that process and understand that is what's really happening. And you can't see it. You can't. I mean, it's your own experience of it, and you just have to trust that everything that is happening during those moments are going to continue throughout the course of the day. It's the guidance that you get during those meditations is the truth that you're being presented in that moment. And then it also is a matter of trusting whatever it is you're being given and taking action on it. And just knowing that is being given to you because, number one, you're asking for it, whether you ask for it outright or not, but you're asking for it through the process of meditating, and your soul is communicating. And that's what's coming back to you from the divine, or whatever term anybody wants to use for that. But it's believing that that's what's taking place. Actually, it gets beyond belief. It's knowing. Because if we believe, there's still that possibility of disbelief. But when you get to that point of knowing, because I know when I walk in the morning that that's what's happening. I don't question it. I know. So there isn't any belief or disbelief. And I think that's the place that we really need to get to, where we just know. It just is. It doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Right, and it's not like we have to go to a fortune teller and have them kind of divine for us, because we have that great connection with the universal knowingness that's all around us, and we do not have to worry that we don't have that connection. We all do, and I think that that's a truth that has really come to me too through the years. Is there were times where you think, oh, I just need to get my fortune told. I need a reading. I need a reading right now, kind of thing. Meanwhile, the universe is giving me a reading and telling me that I need to relax and just let it be.
Right.
And I love how you have, and I'll go back to you talk about Yeshua. And be ye as a passerby. I think that this ties in beautifully now with what we've just been talking about, the belief and knowing, and then being a passerby. I'd love for you to expand on that.
That really gets to the whole idea of non-attachment. That is being in this world but not of this world. That's really more or less what that is coming from. It is knowing that we're here to have the experience of life in human form, but that we're not the human. We're the spirit. And be as a passerby means that you allow yourself to have all the experiences you possibly can. And the vision I get, it's a vision that I see of Yeshua or Jesus, really kind of walking through towns and having the experience of the people, talking to the people, engaged, laughing, having an incredible time, but taking in the richness and fullness of life and everything that it has to offer without becoming attached to it. If you have a wonderful job and you're making a lot of money, enjoy it, embrace it, recognize it, accept it, be proud of it, but don't become attached to it, because if it's gone, you don't want it to be you who's being lost in it. That was an experience you had, but now the next experience is, how do I pull myself back up? And that's another rich experience of life. It enables us to, again, expand and tap into that really remarkable, unlimited potential that's within us. It's our magnificence, to get back to that term. And so being ye as a passerby is really going through life, embracing it, allowing everything in, sharing it with people, loving people, being loved, allowing yourself to be loved, allowing yourself to be loved for who you are, not for what you have or what you've done or what you might do for somebody else. Love me for who I am. That's all I ask. All the other stuff, none of it matters. And I'll love you for who you are. It doesn't matter. And then the other thing that you brought up, Brenda, that I think is important is honoring and recognizing that each of us have our own very specific, unique life path. None of us know what the other person is here to experience. None of us know why each of us might have chosen that particular life path. When we see somebody in a difficult situation, yes, we do want to help them as much as we can, but at some point we have to recognize there is no way we can interfere. That person is making that choice. And when we honor and respect that, then we're allowing them to have the full experience of themselves that they came here to experience, just as I would want somebody to have that same respect and honor towards me with my life path, whatever it is. And it's mine. It doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter to other people. It's mine. I'm responsible for it. I'm the one choosing how I want to go through life and what I want to have as my life experiences. And when I can do that unattached, and when I can do it as a passerby, my life experiences are much more richer and much more fuller. And it opens me up to even more experiences than if I become attached to something, which is very limiting.
Right. I really, really appreciate the fact that, this whole conversation has been really a life-enriching conversation. And the hour has been passing by so quickly, Jim. We're coming to the wind-down spot. And where you say in the book, it really is a choice, that really is truly, it is our choice. We can live in joy, we can live in misery, we can live in the fullness of our life expression, or we can live in constriction and contraction. And at the end of it all, we just have to really appreciate the fact that there is no regrets, no judgment, no pain, no shame. It truly has been the roadmap of our life. But yet, in any moment, it is a choice of change. And, and it doesn't matter if you're 90 or 9. Change can happen in a blink of an eye. Is that not true?
Absolutely. The word change, I think, elicits fear in a lot of people. And again, getting back to my coaching, that's one of the things that I come up against is people say, well, I want to change this or I want to change that. And my question is, well, do you like where you are right now? And they'll go, no. And I said, well, where would you like to be in 3 years? And they'll tell me. And I said, well, what has to happen for you to be in that new place? He said, well, I got to change. And I said, okay, well, then You've got to make that choice, or you're going to continue having the life experiences you're having. And then I'll say, okay, well, let's throw the word change out the window, and let's use the word create, or let's use the word creation. So create. Let's have creation here, which is a much more expansive word. It's much more liberating. It's much more powerful, and I think it comes from a much more positive field, if you will, than change, because we've said too many things. So I just tell people, create your life then. Create it. Whatever it is, create it. But also recognize that as you create, change is going to take place. But let's call it creation. See what happens.
Right. Now, touching on your coaching program, I'd love for you to take a few moments and just share with the audience how they can get in touch with you, how you work, what it is that you offer, and your website. That'd be wonderful.
Okay. My website is prosperitybydesign.com, and it's got all my contact information there. My email address, if anybody wants to email me directly, it's Jim, Jim, at prosperitybydesign.com. On the website, it has a lot of information about the coaching that I do. I do have a couple of packages that I put together now. But quite honestly, they're really packages based on a certain number of sessions somebody might want to have. Because the coaching that I do, I don't talk to somebody and say, okay, this is what I have, and you have to take this. I look at the situation. I look at the person, and really tailor each individual coaching relationship I might have to whatever that particular person needs and what they're looking for out of life. And I've got to be honest that as we enter into a coaching relationship, it changes all the time. We end up not where we thought we were going to be, but in a totally different direction, because what surfaces is what the real issues were, or what it was that was holding this particular individual back, or they have a moment where they truly get clear on who they are and what they want to experience as life, and then we go in that direction. But it's about connecting with your true essence. It's about recognizing that you are the benefactor of life. It's about recognizing that life is your partner, that it's not against you, that it's a joint venture, if you will, and that everything that you do and everything life gives you is for your betterment. So that's really what my coaching is about. And I can tailor programs to really what anybody wants to do. I can do business coaching. I do a lot of spiritual coaching, life coaching, if somebody wants to use that term. But there's a lot of information that's on there. And I do have some new programs that are coming up, workshops and things like that I haven't posted on my website yet because I haven't completed them, but they'll be coming up. So what I would suggest is somebody that wants to go to my website, again, prosperitybydesign.com, sign up for my newsletter or my email contacts, and I'll keep you apprised of anything new that's coming down the road.
That's wonderful. And as life expands, so do you, Jim, and it's a continuous process. And I just want to let everybody know the key to life is living in full expression. This is Jim Phillips' book. And, Jim, how can they get a hold of this book?
Depending upon where you're located, if you're, I don't know what the cost is to send it to Canada. I know that it becomes international, obviously, when it gets outside the United States, and the mailing costs for me become prohibitive, which means that somebody's going to have to pay a lot more money. The reason I say that, you can get it on Amazon or some of these other sites where they have very specific shipping costs that are a lot less than what I might be able to ship it for if I were sending it directly. But if somebody lives within the United States, they can order it on my website, and then I can sign it and personalize it for them. Otherwise, go to Amazon or go to barnesandnoble.com.
Right, and it's published by Balboa Press, which is a well-recognized self-publishing arm of Hay House Publishing. And I just want to tell you that this book is very, very powerful, and I encourage anybody who wants to read further on some of the issues that we talked about that from out of the book and really look into expanding life experience, this is the book for you. Jim, I really want to thank you for your time with us today on E-Factor Radio. It has been a thrill and an honor to have you here, and I look forward to further connections and much wild and crazy success for you as you expand consciousness through your workshops and beyond.
Thank you, Brenda, so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your show, and all of those wonderful things you said to me, back at you. I wish all those things for you as well.
Wonderful. We're expanding and growing together, all of us, evolving through E-Factor Radio. Thank you very much for all of you being with us here today. Take care, namaste, and may the road of life always treat you kind. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to E-Factor with Brenda Pierce.